Hello, guys, and welcome back to Between the Ropes TV. Now, it's a quieter week this week, but we quite like that because it gives us a chance to do something a little bit different. In our WhatsApp chat yesterday, a little bit of a debate started about British boxing trainers. So here is our top three. Yas, I'm going to come to you first. Who is in third position for you?
For me, my number three, a lot of people will probably be a bit surprised about this, but I'm gonna go with Tony Sims. I feel as though he's quite underrated as a trainer, and for me, we just have to look at what he's done for Conor Ben's career as it's gone on, and obviously, I feel as though working with just matchroom fighters, obviously, people can say that kind of stops him from showing his full potential because he's only got access to a certain amount of fighters. But I feel as though what he's done with them clearly speaks for itself. For example, if we go back to like people like Darren Barker, what's it called? He once said, Tony Sims is more than just a coach. He's a trainer. He's a mentor. He dragged him out of dark places that he said himself, I wouldn't have been able to do it without Tony. And I feel as though all of Tony Sims's fighters, the way they all speak about him, you can see that, they respect him, they fight for him, and his training clearly pays off. I mean, he got Cordina, won a title with him within 15 fights. Yes, he worked with AJ for the first 15, 16 fights of his career. And some may argue that that was AJ at his most, destructive point in his career. So that's my number three.
Interesting. You're not going to get any arguments off me there. Tony Sims is definitely one of the best trainers in the country for me. I'm going to go to you, Ray. Who's coming in at third?
Dave Caldwell for me. My criteria for being a very good trainer, an excellent trainer, is getting the best out of your charges. And Dave Caldwell's been an expert of getting the best out of lesser talented fighters. Dave Caldwell's got a fantastic brain, fantastic guy for spotting talent. He's had a lot of obviously being a former fighter, which helps, a former professional, but he's also being sort of like a matchmaker. He had his own Caldwell app that used to watch boxing on, used to be like a small hall promoter, used to be a manager, and he probably still is, has got his manager's license. So he's got a real whole all-rounded view of boxing, and it's reflected in his training. When I look at the stellar job he did with Curtis Woodhouse, turning him from a footballer into a British title winner, that type of stuff isn't, imagine somebody doing that with a YouTube boxer. And the transformation of Tony Bellew, the transformation of Derek Chisora. Yeah, okay, people can talk about he didn't do the best of jobs with Anthony Fowler, but Anthony Fowler is what he is. I don't think Anthony Fowler has done that much better with Shane Mcguigan. And I just think with your small hall fighters, he's on the face value of people that have looked average, he's turned them into very respectable and very good opponents for people. And I just think really he's, because of his all-round aspect and his all-round knowledge of boxing, that's just been reflected in how he is. And he's a very, very good pundit as well.
He is. I'd also add to that list Jordan Gill, particularly in his last fight, his European title win. The corner work from Dave Caldwell was exemplary, wasn't it? It was pretty spectacular. So
yeah, again, Jordan Gill's another one.
No arguments for him. I'm a big fan of Dave Caldwell. I'm hoping it gets a bit spicier here. Yas, have you got in at second?
For me, second one, I've got to put in Shane Mcguigan. For me, he's currently one of the best British trainers right now. He's one of the youngest trainers out there. I feel as though he's going to be around for quite a long time. I like the work that he's done with look at the likes of the Lawrence Okoli, how he's really progressed now. You see him coming on leaps and bounds. Obviously, his last performance against what's his name, Seslak, it wasn't the greatest, but we can really, the fight before that, we're really starting to see that effect that Shane Mcguigan is having on him. I like the way he speaks to his fighters in the corner. You know, he takes no nonsense. He's really like authoritative. And I feel as though, you know, we've got young fighters like Adam Azim coming through, and he's going to really guide him to the top, and he'll be around for quite a long time.
No, again, yeah, no arguments from me. I think it's bizarre with Shane Mcguigan because he's still a young trainer. However, he's still also been around a while. You know, let's not forget the job he did with Carl Frampton, Josh Taylor. He took them both to, you know, what was it, in 2016? I think Carl Frampton was voted best British boxer, obviously, with the Santa Cruz win, and obviously just beaten Scott Quigg as well. So he's been around a little while, but I'd agree with you. I think he's really coming into his own now, and he's got a really quality stable there. Ray, second.
Sorry, I'm going to go for Adam Booth. I just think Adam Booth again. He's got that encyclopedic knowledge about boxing. Works really well with David Hay. Really got the best out of his abilities to win a world title at heavyweight. You know, even though I'm a big James DeGale fan, he masterminded George Groves' victory against James DeGale, which I thought was a terrific win. They both went on to have terrific careers after that. I do believe, because of the way the first fight went with Carl Froch, if George Groves had Adam Booth in his corner in the second fight instead of Fitzpatrick, that would have made a difference. But he didn't. And I think that it's alone told you just how influential and how good Adam Booth particularly is as a trainer. I also think it's another hallmark of a good trainer is you start to see their style or their gym style reflected to the point where people say he's got an Inga way of fighting or a Kronk way of fighting or a Cuban way of fighting. Certain fighters, you can look at them and go, he's suited to Adam Booth because he's a switch hitter, because he's got really sharp reflexes, bit of power, really fast feet. I remember Josh Kelly and Ryan Burnett really complimenting each other on the pad work with Adam Booth. You could just look at those two and think they're Adam Booth fighters because they have all those attributes I just mentioned. So that's another hallmark for me and sign of a good trainer. When people that know boxing and know what to talk about start saying, well, he's an Adam Booth fighter, he's an Ingle fighter, you know, he's a Emmanuel Stewart type fighter, he's heavy on the right hand. And you start to hearing that a lot about Adam Booth's fighters.
Again, I'd have to agree. I'm glad that he's in at least one of his top threes because I always think back to, you know, when you think of masterminding a game plan, I always think back to, what was it, 2009, Hay Valaev. That was obviously his heavyweight title win. A lot of people said Hay couldn't do it, but he pulled it off in quite comfortable fashion in the end, in fairness. And again, you know, Ray, in particular, how big a fan of Carl Froch I am. But I have to admit, going back to that, I was quite glad Adam Booth wasn't with George Groves because I think it would have definitely been certainly a lot tougher fight, that rematch for Carl Froch, than it turned out to be. So, but now we're here, number ones. I'm going to switch it up, actually, because I'm quite excited. I'm going to go to Ray first. Ray, who is your number one?
I'm going to go for Shane Mcguigan for my number one. I just think his current stable now is excellent. He's got a mix of young talent. He's got some female talent in there, Nelly Scottney, Caroline Dubois. He's got people who, again, wouldn't have dreamed of being fighting for European and Commonwealth titles in Chris Billam-Smith, but that's where he's got them. And he's rejuvenating careers. He has said it before, where like Lawrence Okoli. I mean, Lawrence Okoli is what he is still, but he's made him a lot more effective. He's not going to change him too much, but he's made him more effective, and he's strengthened his better attributes. But again, what the job he did with Carl Frampton and Josh Taylor can't be ignored. It's a shame what happened. It's a shame those fighters have had disagreements with him and his dad, but that can't be detracted from the job he's done. I don't think there's anyone else out there who could have done a better job with Josh Taylor and Carl Frampton at those stages of their career. So I've got to take my hats off to Shane Mcguigan. He seems to get all aspects of the game right: nutrition, fitness, strength and conditioning. His fighters never look weight drained. You know, they never look fatigued. They're always in great shape. They always perform to the best of their abilities, even in defeat. So I've got to hand it to him.
No, again, I'd agree with this for the same reasons I gave it. Yes, I think he'd definitely be in my top 1 or 2 as well. Just a bit of a curveball question for you, Ray. Obviously, we've both mentioned the job he did with Carl Frampton and Josh Taylor. Now, I know Josh Taylor went on and got undisputed just after leaving, but is it fair to say, probably more so with Carl Frampton, although I am thinking back actually to Taylor Catterall earlier this year, that their best days were actually under Mcguigan?
Yeah, instead you say that for Carl Frampton, Carl will probably say he did too much sparring with Mcguigan and what have you, and he eased up under Jamie Moore and that length in his career. But yeah, his best days were definitely under Shane Mcguigan, and he'll probably reluctantly or privately admit that himself. Josh Taylor, well, yeah, he did become undisputed. But as Josh Taylor, to be fair to Josh Taylor, his standard and level of opposition improved. So his performances were not like runaway explosive performances because the level of opposition improved. So I think the jury's still out on that one. It's easy to look at the Catterall defeat. Well, it was it's a win on paper, but I call it a defeat. It's easy to say, oh well, he was probably better than Mcguigan for that one, but don't forget he's fought some better opposition on the Ben Davison. So for that one, I would still say the jury's out.
No, I can accept that one. Right, yes, I'm excited. You've already used Mcguigan, so we've got 2 different number 1s. Who is top dog for you?
For me, I'm putting Adam Booth as number 1, but I do feel as though I'll explain that why. And obviously, he's very literally echoing what you guys said previously. He's very knowledgeable. He knows how to mentally prepare his fighters. We saw what he done with David Haye and Groves. Like, he really fine-tuned them for me, especially with the timing and the jab and landing the big right hand. And obviously the master game plan when no one thought David Haye could do it against Valuev. For me, what's it called? Booth is also, it's not a secret that he's turned down a lot of fighters as well. So clearly, like, he knows what he's doing. He's very knowledgeable, and yeah. So for me, he's my number 1 right now. But I have Shane Mcguigan coming in quite close, and I feel like as the years go on, I feel like Shane Mcguigan will probably cement his spot in that number 1 position.
Yeah, I can take that. I mean, there's a couple of names I should say. I think we'll have to give honourable mentions to. Dominic Ingle. I don't think anyone could sort of argue he's obviously with his dad as well, but the Ingle gym is legendary. And what he did with Kell Brook, even Kid Gallagher, in fairness, still a world champion, and various others. It is impressive. So Dom Ingle should get a shout out for me. And also, now this is the one that sparked the debate, Rob Mccracken. Now, he's had 2 pros. Obviously, as I know Ray will dive, he's itching. He's itching to attack me here. But he did such a good job with Carl Froch. And every time Carl Froch speaks to him, he talks about how, he's not just your trainer, he's your mate. And, at times when you're beaten, he's not, and he pulls you out of it. And I always think that's the sign of, forget boxing, that's just the sign of a special man, to have that ability to make someone else go to that sort of depth. I think it's incredible. And also, he oversees Team GB. I know, he's not necessarily doing the coaching day to day, but it's no coincidence since he's had that job, Team GB has never been more successful. So for me, he should get a shout out. And as much as I want to end it there, I am giving Ray the right to reply because he was itching. Be nice.
Yeah, I mean, with the role with Team GBs, I mean, my understanding is he oversees a lot of the work done, and I think in that role, yes, we've amateur boxing in terms of Britain on the national scene, we were laughing stock basically. We weren't doing anything until Ollie Harrison won a gold medal. And then things changed when Amir Khan got his silver medal. Rob Mccracken came in for the next cycle. And now we're mentioned up there with the Kazakhs, the Uzbekistans, the Russians, the Cubans, the Americans. Even the boys from Ukraine. So that's fantastic to him. But in terms of the coaching, that's mainly down to Lee Pullen. That's mainly down to Richie Woodhall, Mick Driscoll, and so on and so forth. And he's just had 2 professionals for me. And I think, yeah, he's had 2 two professionals. They both won world titles. Carl Froch, arguably, he's got the best resume in British boxing in the past 15 years, which he said being on that incredible run, and he oversaw a lot of that. So I take my hat off in respect to that. And he fighters showed him, up until a point, a lot of loyalty. But for me, he hasn't showed it in a diverse range of fighters enough to warrant getting there when the likes of Caldwell, Peter Fury, Ingle, Gallagher, Mcguigan and Booth have all worked with a wide range of fighters of all different ranges in the rankings, from contenders to prospects, the champions, the gatekeepers, and the work with more fighters essentially.
Fair enough. I was going to say those are the other two I've got to give a shout out to as well, Peter Fury and Joe Gallagher. Both, I think it's fair to say, Marmite figures in boxing. People either love them or hate them, but you can't deny their legacies that they'll leave when they're done. Particularly, currently, Peter Fury, what he's done with Savannah Marshall in terms of the confidence that he brought out in her. And, if she does beat Shields in a few weeks' time, he probably even cracks top threes, in fairness to the guy. So that's it from me. Anyone else for a special mention, guys, or are we done?
No, I think for me, we've pretty much, that's it, yeah.
Nailed it. Right.
Yeah,
guys,
we've done it.
There you go. Guys, let us know in the comment section what your top threes are, if you disagree. Also, Ray probably wants to do a separate video apologising for the disrespect he's shown to Rob Mccracken, the greatest boxer to have ever lived, trainer Carl Froch, but that's one for another time. Guys, we've got more content coming. Just dropped, I believe, is Emmanuel Addo's. It's another episode in Ray's Ghanaian series. It's a really, really good interview. It's a longer one than we normally do, but I loved every minute of it when I watched it back. So, guys, tune in for that one and hit that like and subscribe button.